All right. Hello, everyone. This is Ms. Jerri with Life on the Road Recruiting and Transportation Services and Life on the Road Recruiting University. Hey, I'm going to talk to you today about a typical phone call that I have with a driver that has failed a drug screen. Okay. Whether you failed, whether you have, you have a refusal, because it's the same thing. There's no difference between a failure, a refusal, inconclusive, whatever you want to call it. You have a violation in the drug and alcohol clearinghouse. Okay, I'm going to help you navigate through that DOT SAP program and help your carrier as well. All right, so let's get started. All right, so my main goal in this video is to help you understand, help you navigate and understand like the twists and the turns and the loops, and then ultimately help you get back to work, because that's the end goal. You've gone through the program. Now the next step is to get back to work, and I'm gonna help you from point A all the way to point B and answer all of your questions, okay? All right, so who is Miss Jerri? Who am I? And why is she an expert on SAP? Okay, so like I said, I'm the owner of Life on the Road Recruiting and Transportation Services and Life on the Road University, Recruiting University. And so I do trainings, workshops, things like that, but I also have a full service recruiting, a truck driver recruiting. We only specialize in truck driver recruiting company. All right. Why am I an expert? Because I have gone out, done the research. I've talked to the experts in the industry. I've met with SAP professionals. I've talked to a lot of them. I've talked to drivers that have gone through the program. And if you visit my YouTube, if you're anywhere on the YouTube channel, you'll see interviews that I've done. I've just had many drivers that reached out to me that, had questions that I couldn't answer. And so I wanted to be able to answer those questions. And so I took it up on myself to become the expert on SAP. Okay. All right, so the first thing that I will do when you call me is listen. So I want to understand where you are in the process, okay? Of course, I'm gonna tell you, introduce myself, how you doing, this and that. How did you hear about me? But my main goal at the beginning of our conversation is to listen, understand where you are in the process. Did the MRO just let you know that you have a violation? Did you just like walk out of the drug testing facility and you got a refusal already? Did you just leave the pre-employment and you haven't got the results back, but you kind of feel like that you got a problem? Okay, so I need to understand where you are in the process. Okay. And then at that point, I'm making my assessment on where you need to go next. All right. Basically, the first thing is to understand where you are in the process. All right. So if you're in the process where you just failed a drug screen, like it just happened, they contacted you, they told you that, you failed the drug screen. I'm gonna break down the process for you, okay? So there's steps and levels to this process. There's approximately 6 steps, okay? And if you're just entering the SAP program, I'm going to go through every single step, all right? Let me take this slide out because I'm gonna pull up the DOT Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouses steps 1 through 6, and I'm about to break it all the way down for you, okay? How does the clearinghouse work, okay? So first thing first is you have a violation. Okay, once you get that violation, it's a failure, it's a refusal. You are prohibited in the clearinghouse from performing safety sensitive functions. Okay, you're prohibited. Now the employer whether you went and took a pre-employment somewhere and you failed, you dropped 30, whatever the case may be, you have to, the employer has 3 days. They have 3 days to report that this happened. Okay. They have 3 days. Let me scroll up a little bit here because that tells you. So the employer must report by the close of the 3rd business day. Okay. On the day that they found out the information, they have to report the violation by the close of the 3rd business day. All right. Okay. And so then the next thing that has to happen is you have to go in your clearinghouse and you, the driver, has to designate a SAP. That is step 1. Okay. You have to go in, you have to designate a SAP. Now, your employer is either going to provide you a list of SAP professionals. You can do your own research. Have we recommended SAPs in the past? Yes, we have some in our network. Some that just, when I say they're in our network, they're ones that I've reached out to ask those questions that I need to know as a recruiter, and then been able to send drivers their way, just so that they can understand the process and have somebody that they're comfortable with, because I don't send my drivers to everywhere. If a driver comes to me for expert advice and to help with something, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find the right people and put them in contact with them. Okay. So that's step 1. All right. Step 1 is the SAP request sent. You have to request a SAP. All right. Step 2 is where the SAP is designated. Okay. So you're designating the SAP, you've picked your SAP, and they do an initial evaluation of you, the driver. Okay. So step 2, 3, and 4, it's all SAP. Okay, it's all done by the SAP. Step 1 is the only thing that the driver has to do, and that's find them a SAP professional. Okay, step 2, 3, and 4, I'm about to break them down, but that's all done by the SAP. Okay, that's why you have to have a SAP that really understands the program, really knows how to navigate through that clearinghouse, because it does get confusing. Okay, make sure your SAP is very well versed in the SAP program. Okay, so step 2, the SAP is designated, and then they do their initial evaluation of you. And so that evaluation can be counseling, it can be, not counseling, it can be understanding like what the situation was. And then they do an assessment. Okay, so that's step 3. In step 3, they're doing an assessment. All right. And then after they complete the assessment, they are sending the employer, your current employer, a recommendation for education, for treatment, for things like that. And then after you complete that, and if you don't have an employer anymore, they fired you, then that SAP is sending you that education, that treatment that they recommend. They make you go through that process, whatever it is. It may be going into meetings, it may be doing something online, whatever that SAP tells you that you have to do for the treatment. It could be weeks, it could be days, it could be months. I don't know. Okay, it's between you and your SAP, and keep in mind, all of this is confidential with you and your SAP. Okay, it's only known by somebody else if you tell them. All right, but it could be weeks, it could take weeks, it could take days, it could take months. It depends on what your SAP says after they evaluate you. Okay, and then after you complete the education or whatever treatment plan that they have laid out for you, then they reevaluate you to determine that you're in compliance, and send you to take a drug screen. Okay, so they'll set up the drug screen. You have to pay for that drug screen, and we'll talk about price here in just a little bit. But you have to pay for that drug screen, those sorts of things. But the SAP takes care of setting everything up. Okay, again, remember steps 2, 3, and 4. 2, 3, and 4. Those are all SAP professional related. That's handled by your SAP. Okay, in 4. Okay, that's when you are determined eligible for return to duty test. Okay, so that's when you go and you take that return to duty test. All right, and they'll set that up. Like I said, if it's negative, okay, then you go on, you get to move on to step 5 and step 6. All right, so step 5 and step 6 is completed by the employer. Okay, the employer is the one that completes step 5 and step 6. Now, what I recommend is that your employer is in communication with your SAP professional. Okay, because sometimes sometimes the employers will get in there and absolutely not know what they're doing, not know what they're looking at. So your SAP professional, that's why I say that step 1 is very important, because you have to have the right SAP professional, all right, that knows exactly what they're doing and they have experience in this. All right, so step 5 and 6 must be completed by the employer. And there are a lot of employers that, carriers that, just don't want to do it because they don't understand it. Like I talked to a driver the other day, and he came out of SAP in 2020, and he started working with the company. He was doing his randoms, everything. And he told me that the company fired him because, he was still, they didn't know how to update the clearinghouse. They didn't know how to update the clearinghouse. And so they were like, I just don't want to deal with it. Okay. So I told him, I said, you need to call them, and because they had you on for a month. Like, why didn't they do step 5? Okay. And so he's looking for an employer right now, because the person that took him back on, it was a smaller fleet owner. The person that took him back on didn't update step 5. All right. So that's why I say, make sure your SAP professional and your carrier are communicating with each other so that the steps get updated in the clearinghouse appropriately. All right. So step 5. So step 5 is where you go to orientation. You found you a company. Let's talk about that. So you found you a company. And like I said, I do have options for you. You found a company. You filled out the application. Let's talk about the application. So in the application, you're going to want to make sure that, say you went to a pre-employment for a company, you didn't have a job, you went to a pre-employment and you failed that pre-employment, and that's what put you in the SAP. That company needs to be on the application because you went to that orientation. All right. So make sure that company is on there, their name, their phone number, their address. If you're using 10th Street, put all that and fill in all that information. All right. And when they ask that question about, do you have any violations in the drug and alcohol clearinghouse, you got to say yes. All right. And you got to explain the date. You got to explain the nature of the offense. And whether it was a positive, whether it was a refusal, you need to put all of that in there. That way they know what they're working with. Okay. Make sure that information is updated, that they have the carrier where you failed or where you refused or whatever the case may be. And then also make sure that you put the nature of the offense, the date when it happened, that sort of thing. Okay. So that's the application. All right. You want to make sure that's done. And then during the orientation, you're going to do a drug screen. Okay. Now, if you're going to call me after you're done with all this, the company that I work with, they require a hair drug screen. Okay. I have some other videos on my YouTube talking about hair drug screens. You need to know what to expect. You need 90 days. 90 days is a good, it's a good thing to go by, but I always tell my drivers 4 months. Okay. If it hasn't been 4 months, then you don't need to be going to a company that's doing a hair drug screen. Okay. Because you're just going to dig yourself in a deeper hole. Am I judging? No. Okay. I'm just sharing information. That's all I'm doing. Okay. So the application process, the orientation, you go through the orientation, you pass that drug screen, and then after they get the negative results, that's step 5. Once they get the negative return to duty results, then you're not prohibited anymore. You get the green light, okay? You're no longer prohibited from performing safety-sensitive functions as directed by the DOT FMCSA in the Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, okay? That means you tested a negative, you can start moving back on with your life, all right? And be grateful, okay? Let me stop this, this by saying, don't come in saying, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to work here. I'm not going to go here. I'm not going to, I need to take off every day and be home Monday through Friday in the evenings. No, you be grateful that you have a job, okay? Because everybody not taking you. Like all of these other truck drivers that's out here that have, 15 to 20 jobs to choose from. You're not one of them, okay? So don't put yourself in a box, because you still need to pay your bills. You still need to feed your family. Okay. So accept what you're able to accept, and then get some time passed from this blemish on your record, because you are a professional truck driver and this is your livelihood. Okay. And so it's important that you maintain your license in a professional manner. Okay. Let's get past this. All right. So next, step 5, you are negative. You got your new job. You about to go pull your load. What happens next is your SAP professional will learn that you tested negative. You're good in the RTD. In step 6, step 5 and 6, they get a like a prescribed letter. It's a SAP letter. And in this letter, the carrier will get this letter from the SAP professional. And in that letter, the SAP professional is going to say, okay, so the testing plan for this driver is to have 10 random tests over the course of 12 months, or 8 randoms over the course of 12 months, okay? And every one of those randoms must be negative, okay? You must test negative for every random. All right. So those are your follow-up. That's your follow-up testing plan that was prescribed by your SAP professional. All right. Usually it's a year. It lasts a year. Sometimes it might last 2 years. However long, you're at the mercy of that SAP. Okay. So however long that SAP says that you need to take this plan, that's how long you're going to do it. Okay. And then your employer, once your testing plan has been completed, once you have successfully completed the follow-up testing plan, then step 6 is complete. Okay? So you have to go through each one of these steps in order to get out of the SAP program. Talk about prices. So most SAPs, I've seen SAPs as low as $450, $500. I've seen SAPs as high as $800 to $1,000. Okay, so it just depends on the SAP. Do your research. Do your research on the SAPs, because you're going to also pay for the drug testing. You're going to also pay for the online course and that sort of stuff. So it just depends. It's a range. So anywhere between $500 and $1,000 is about what you're going to pay to get back to active duty, return to duty status. Okay. Now I want to go back to step 4. All right, because that's the place where I kind of come in to help you find that job. All right, so in step 4, you're calling me and Miss Jerri, I'm in step 4. I'm going to ask you a couple of things. I'm going to ask you, have you completed the program? Are you in the return to duty status? Do you have your certificate? It's a real certificate. Okay, do you have that? You hold that certificate with your life. Okay, you're gonna make some copies and you put them at your mama house and put them at your grandmama house. You hold that certificate with your life. Okay, because companies want to see that certificate if they're gonna hire you. Okay, so step 4, you got your certificate, you're filling out your applications. You call me at that point, because that's when I'm going to be able to help you find a new carrier to work with. All right, that's when I'm going to be able to help you. Until then, I can kind of help you, guide you, of course, in step 1 and but 2, 3, 4, that's just that. All right, call me after 4 and then we can talk. But here's the thing, like I said, when you call me, you better be able to pass a hair drug screen. Okay, you better be able to pass a hair drug screen. We're going to get that application done. Call me when you're ready, because I don't need you waiting 2, 3, 4, Miss Jerri, I need 3, 4, 5 weeks before I can start. No, you need to start next week. Okay, it's already been however long that you haven't worked. Your wife, your mom, your sister, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, they need you to start. Your kids, they need you to start next week. Okay, so we can get you running. We can help you navigate through this. All right, it's not the end of the world. Okay, did you make a mistake? You made a stupid mistake. Okay, but it's not the end of the world, and we're going to be able to help you get your life back on track, because that's the end game. That's the end game, is to get your life back on track. Okay, all right, so that's kind of the end of what I wanted to share. It's a lot, and I said a lot in a very little bit of time. But if you have any other questions, drop them in the comments. If you have gone through SAP, if Miss Jerri has helped you navigate through this program in any way, share it. Okay, share it in the comments. Share your experience, like what worked for you, what didn't work for you. And then I'm going to do another video for owner operators, because while your steps are the same, there's some things and some criteria that you have to meet with consortiums and things like that, being an owner operator. Okay, so I wish you well. If you got this blemish, get past this, get it. So good luck. Hey, you professional. All right, don't ever let this happen again. Get back to driving, because we need you. Bye, y'all. This is Miss Jerri, and I hope you have a wonderful day.